Hello everyone, and today we're going to be talking about another game, Humankind. Now, this game was, I believe, on early access for several months, if not longer. And a lot of people have been sort of positioning this as a sort of civilization killer type of experience, type of game. Now, I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate, but like I say in the title here, it does sort of combine a few elements from Civilization and a few elements of even Total War. Not exactly, but in some ways, yes. Now, let's talk about this for a bit. So this is not going to be a full comprehensive review or anything, like my review of Rome 2, or of the several Total War mods I've covered on the channel. But I just wanted to talk about this game because I feel it deserves your attention, and I feel like Total War players and Civilization players alike might be interested in what Humankind has to offer. Now, Humankind is by Amplitude Studios. Now, Amplitude is famous for their Endless series of games, so Endless Space 1 and 2, as well as Endless Legend. Now, I quite liked Endless Space 1. I played Endless Space 1, and I have to say I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of its aspects. However, I feel like the game was not as replayable as other strategy games. I felt like the combat system was also... it got old very quickly. And unfortunately, I never had the chance to check out Endless Space 2. And Endless Legend, I played very briefly. It's just harder for me to get into fantasy universes like that if I have no background in it. But it did seem like a better game than Endless Space in a lot of ways. So Humankind, in my opinion, I think it's the best game Amplitude has made, though I do feel like it does share some of the issues that the other Amplitude games have, and I will talk about that as we go through this early game here. Now, one of the aspects of Humankind that I immediately enjoy more than the way it's depicted in Civilization is this sort of early period, the ancient era, the sort of prehistoric era right before writing. Now, in Civilization, this part of the game, it involves a lot of just clicking end turn, pressing enter a lot. We can skip over this now. But in Humankind, I don't want to say it doesn't get old because I have not had too much experience with the game. I've started several games. I've played different cultures in the ancient era, and I have to say it's interesting. I do find it a little more engaging than Civilization's early game. So in the early game here, you start out in the Neolithic era. So you start out as sort of a tribe of hunter-gatherers, and you don't have any settlements. That's not your immediate goal, right? You don't have to settle down and make an outpost immediately. Your initial goal is to explore, to find unique oddities, curiosities, gain science, gain food, increase the size of your tribe as you do so. Now, of course, first thing you notice here is the graphical style. The graphical style here is definitely less cartoony than it is in Civilization 6. And I would say it perhaps is a little more reminiscent of Civ 5 or some mods for Civilization 4. And I think that's a positive. So let's get started here. Sorry about that, I had to get some water. So let's start moving here. We're in the woods here, so of course that affects our movement at the start. Again, similar to how it affects movement in Civilization. Now, as you can see, movement is a little more variable here, so you can move longer distances as long as the terrain is conducive to such movement. But again, if you're moving in snowy forests, you won't be able to move that much. And of course, this game is also hexagon based, just like Civilization 6, and that's something that has been in the series since Civilization 5. And I'm fine with hexagons. I know some people were talking about how they were not huge fans of hexagon-based strategy games, but I don't know. It has never bothered me. So we just found some nuts, which gave us plus 10 food for a hunting party. So as we find more food, our tribe will grow. So, of course, since Civilization 4's Doomstack, Civilization has moved more towards a 1 unit per hex system. Now in Civ 6, there are ways to stack certain units on top of each other, right? Like non-combat units, civilian units, support units, artillery units, things like that. And in Humankind, you can stack, or you can have more of the sort of same type of unit in one hex. So you'll see how that works in just a little bit. So let's keep exploring a bit here. So we did discover a secret there. I hope we find some more secrets here. So to found an outpost, to claim a territory, I have to get more influence. So I've got to discover some more secrets here. So let's end the turn. And again, if you compare this to Civ, again, there's not too much going on right now, right? I'm moving my guy and I'm clicking end turn. So it's not that different compared to the early game of Civ. We found some more nuts. I guess that's good. It's healthy. Getting protein. So yesterday, the tribe came across a vast tract of wild grain, the stalks swaying in the breeze like the wind playing over golden waters. The ground down grain could feed the tribe twice over. But one of the tribal elders had another idea. Instead of pounding the seeds into flour, she suggests planting half of them so the grasses may return next summer. It is a curious idea, at odds with the nomadic life, but perhaps a harbinger of the future. What should you do? Well, I think we should harness the natural rhythms of the world to seek a better life. Minus 25% on domestication research cost. So as you go through Humankind, you discover there are more of these events. And I have to say, I enjoy these events. It kind of reminds me of perhaps Stardock strategy games like Galactic Civilizations 2, which I played a lot back in the day, where you would get certain events upon discovering an oddity or exploring a planet or a new solar system and things like that. And I quite like it. I think Civilization needs to have more of these events. It's not that Civ doesn't have some events. It's just that it needs more. It needs more. So, let's keep going here. You know, I really would like to found an outpost, but I haven't discovered the necessary secrets. Oh, we found some geothermal geysers. That's nice. Ah, sanctuary. Okay. So as you explore the land, you see there are a lot of peaceful animals, so you can tell by the peace sign. And there are tiles that are lairs or sanctuaries. So sanctuaries attract peaceful wildlife, and lairs attract more dangerous wildlife. But we have discovered a science point, so let's go see what they have to offer. It's an ancient encampment, and that has given us 5 influence and 2 science. So now we have enough influence to found an outpost, and I would like to found one next to the coast here. This is a lovely piece of land here. I'd like to, I think, make a city here. So plus 14 food, plus 2 industry over there. 8, a little more balanced over here. 12 and 2. 10 and 6. Perhaps I'll found it next to the forest and the river over here. But you know what? Okay, yeah, let's do that. I'm still not an expert, I'd say, in placing settlements, but again, this is not, this is more of a discussion video, right? So we found some more berries, got plus 5 food. Now you see here it says culture chosen. The nomadic tribe reached the ancient era with the Babylonians. So that might sound a bit confusing, but what that means is that once you get enough science points and you reach the next era, so the your scout comes to you, breathless from exertion. Between gasps, he tells you that he spied another tribe not far ahead. He leads you on. Then, after giving a stop signal, you drop to your bellies and crawl forward in the brush. Ahead, a young woman no more than 13 summers is leading a ceremony. Her audience a dozen or so equally young or younger tribesmen. Many are crying, and when you see the bodies laid out, you understand they are in mourning. You know what you must do. These children need care and shelter. So let's take them on as part of our tribe. So again, I really like these events. I think this is one of the biggest strengths of Humankind as a game. So another tribe has reached the ancient era with the Mycenaeans. So these tribes, as you reach the ancient era, you can choose the culture you want, right? So Mycenaeans, Babylonians, Assyrians. And in just a second, once we reach that point, I'm going to talk about what I like about that idea and what I don't like about it. So let's create an outpost here, Buna. There we go, that's our first outpost. The older children from the devastated tribe swelled the ranks of your own tribe, proving themselves capable and determined fighters, while the younger ones brought joy and laughter. However, something deadly also accompanied them when they left that place of death and ruin. A sickness has spread through the entire tribe, killing many. So we lost a group here, unfortunately. Luckily, it was a subunit in our tribe, our main tribe. But that's okay, we'll find more food and our tribe will grow again. Okay, we got some more berries. And once our outpost is created, we'll be able to upgrade it to a city. And that, again, will give us more influence. Okay, so let's end the turn here. We've got the Olmecs now. Another tribe has chosen the Olmecs. I do like that Olmecs are one of the ancient tribes included here. I do wish there were more. Let's keep exploring the coastline. Okay, we found some more nuts. It's good, we're getting a lot of protein. Okay, we've got the Assyrians now coming up on our tails. Let's explore this mountainous region a bit more. Okay, there's some science points. So let's end the turn here. I do like the interface is definitely very different compared to Civ. It's very reminiscent of Amplitude. The standard Amplitude interface that they like making, these buttons, especially the 2D art and things. And I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with the Amplitude style interface. Okay, we've got some science points here. Ancient encampment. Getting more influence and science points. So that's good. But we still need more.
You have built a first outpost, adding another territory to your empire. I know, you're hoping this is the beginning of something very, very
Okay, some more science points. Our outpost has been created. So now we can actually, we can build only outpost relocation or another a unit of tribe, right? So right now our population is 0, but in a few turns that should grow. You can see the population growth up at the top here, as well as food, industry, money, and science created by this settlement. All right. So, another event, violent pursuits. The last winter was especially harsh, the ground hard and the frost chilling to the bone. In the heart of the settlement, the tribe huddled close to share warmth through the coldest days, but for some it wasn't enough. Some needed to get their blood flowing. They found a means through violent games, grappling, fighting, contests of strength and endurance. One contest, where opponents fight with hidebound fists, has gained quite a following to the point that the outpost's usual foraging missions are under threat. What is your say on this new pursuit? We can encourage them, forbid the games, or codify them. So obviously, as a Sumerian king, we will codify them. Have to regulate those things. That's what Gudea would do. Okay, we got some more nuts, so our tribe has grown by another unit. And that's nice. So, one of the things I should have mentioned is that the borders in this game work very differently compared to Civilization. So when you found a new settlement in Civilization, you get the hexes that are next to the city, or the settlement. And then as your settlement grows in terms of culture, or as you get enough money to purchase the tiles you want to expand the borders of your settlement, the borders grow, right? But in this game, the borders are a little more irregular of the territories. Now, so the territories are sort of predefined, right? And you can claim things, and I'm a little mixed on that. I'd rather create my own territories rather than dealing with sort of predefined territories. Of course, these boundaries can change. You can detach areas, you can attach other areas to your territory, so it's not static. And some of the aspects like detaching, liberating parts, and reattaching certain territories, I think that's something that Civilization could use, that's for sure. Okay, so now we can choose an ancient culture. So since we were last, I've been pretty slow in this game, unfortunately. You can see here all the cultures of the ancient era. So you have Harappans, Hittites, Mycenaeans, Nubians, Olmecs, Phoenicians, the Zhou, Assyrians, Babylonians, and Egyptians. So I guess I will choose Zhou. And each culture has their own unique buildings, unique units for this era, and unique traits. So the Zhou get +2 stability on district. They get the ability to construct a Confucian school. And they get this unit, the Jianshe. So let's become the Zhou and confirm. Okay, so that's very nice. Now, of course, the music of the game changes depending on which culture you pick. And I have to say, not a huge fan of the Joe's music, but I do quite like the Phoenician music. I think the music they've chosen for the Phoenicians is quite nice. Okay, so our tribe has grown. We've got 3 sort of subunits here in our unit of tribesmen. Where's our other unit here? Here's our unit. So here's a sanctuary. So there's another thing you can do in this game. You can ransack. So I'm going to ransack the sanctuary, and I'll get money for that. So again, as you progress through the eras, the game shows you a bunch of videos. I'm sure you can find these videos on your own. So our nomadic tribe has now become the Joe civilization, the ancient era. And our unit of tribesmen has been upgraded to scouts, lightly armed troops tasked to find enemy positions and engage in light skirmishes. Now, here's the thing. I just chose my culture and my civilization changed, right? And this is the main thrust of what I wanted to talk about in this video. This is a good thing and it's a bad thing. Now, if you think about, for example, let's give the example of Mesopotamian civilization. Now, Mesopotamian civilization had many different kingdoms, many different ethnicities, many different dynasties that took power at different times, right? So let's say in the 4th millennium, you had the sort of Uruk Empire, the Uruk prehistoric state, right? In the 3rd millennium, you had the Sumerian city-states, which were eventually united by Lugal-Zaggisi, king of Umma, and then Uruk, right? And he was a Sumerian. And then you had the Sargonic Empire, the Sargonic dynasty, but it was still pretty much the same Mesopotamian civilization, right? It was the continuation. And then you had kings like Gudea, post-Sargonic, who united parts of Mesopotamia, probably. And then you had the Ur Empire, again Sumerian, and then you had the Old Babylonian Empire, Amorites, right? But still the continuation of the same Mesopotamian civilization, all the way down to the Neo-Assyrian Empire under Sennacherib, the Neo-Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar. These are all people of different ethnicities, different dynasties, right? Nebuchadnezzar was not an Amorite like Hammurabi, but they were still kings in the Babylonian and the Mesopotamian civilization, right? So I really like the fact that in Humankind, you sort of have these shifts, right? So you can choose how your civilization develops. Your civilization morphs over time, and it changes traits, even though some of its more ancient aspects are retained. This is a really interesting gameplay aspect that I feel civilization perhaps doesn't do enough to replicate, right? However, in Humankind, you saw I just chose, oh, and here's the tech tree. Very similar to Civilization. It's fine. I think the Civ tech tree is better. Now, and they're both better than Rome 2's tech tree, of course. Now, here's the thing. You saw, once I progressed to the ancient era from the Neolithic period, I was just given the choice of which civilization, which culture I wanted to adopt, right? And I really wish that there was a little bit more influence of your gameplay style on that cultural progression, right? So I could have been extremely peaceful and making, I don't know, trade agreements, non-aggression, not hurting anyone, not hurting animals, not hunting, right? But then I could just choose Assyrians and like gain the culture trait of raiding, ignoring borders, ransacking, right? No matter what I did during the previous era in terms of my gameplay, right? I could just choose whatever culture I want. Now, I really wish. Now, it's just sort of there's a bit of a disconnect there. I really wish, like, for example, in Rome 2, your province could be extremely mismanaged. This is one of the worst aspects of Rome 2 I'm talking about. You could really mismanage your province. You could be in extreme famine in some of your provinces. But that food aspect, that famine aspect, that management does not affect the public order, right? So that's something where the gameplay, your management style, has no effect on like the practical mechanic, right? So the public order is not affected by if you lead your people to famine or not, right? And that's really a big disconnect in Rome 2, something that's really not good. Now, here in Humankind, that's a big thing for me. There's a disconnect here between your gameplay and the culture you can choose. Now, I think there should be several different cultures you can choose, but you should be limited based on the way you behaved in the previous era, right? So let's say you were doing extreme hunting. You were very aggressive against animals, against mammoths or lions or whatever, like the way Mesopotamians would hunt lions, and that would be part of the royal culture, right? To the point where they drove them to extinction, right? So then if you did that, then you get a choice of not the Joe, for example, but you will get the choice of being either Assyrians or Babylonians, for example, or Harappans, let's say. Whereas if you were a little more peaceful, if you did go more towards, let's say, I don't know, getting those science points, discovering wonders, perhaps you would be able to choose between the Olmec and the Joe, for example. I'm not, you know what I mean. I'm not giving exact examples here, but I just really wish, and then again, when you go from the ancient to the classical era, you get to choose your classical era culture, right? And you could go from Joe to being the, I don't know, Greeks, for example, Romans, or the Achaemenid Persians. Now, anyway, that's a really big disconnect for me. There are some aspects of that I like, some aspects I don't. Now let's show the battles here. One thing I like in this game is that when your unit engages with another unit, you get into a battle. Now it's not a real-time battle, it's with rounds, but you can deploy your units, and it's sort of like a hex-based battle strategy type game, mini game, right? And I quite like it. You can even do auto-resolve. It shows your side is stronger overall. It has kind of this total war aspect, right? In a lot of ways. Not in the battle mechanics themselves, but in the way it's portrayed, at least. So let's deploy here. Yeah, I don't want to change, but you can, of course, choose where to deploy your units. I'll just deploy them next to each other. So let's end our deployment. So let's attack the mammoth here. I just want to show a little bit of a battle here. And of course, these battles work the same as on these hunts. They work the same against other human units and armies, right? So you just attack, and then if you have ranged units in your army, you can position your archers, I don't know, on the mountain, and they'll be more effective. You can put your troops on the high ground. They'll be more effective. I quite like the battle mechanics here. I think they've done a much better job on the battles here. Definitely way better than the battles they had in Endless Space 1. That was a card-based battle system. It was not great. So I got spoils. it shows my losses at the end, and it shows the enemy losses as well. Now, yeah, that's pretty much, I would say, everything I want to say about Humankind here. So again, the main things I wanted to talk about in this video were its similarities and differences between civilization, even between Total War, as you saw with that battle system there, with the way it was portrayed, the way I deployed my troops and fought the battle, and how it was a little bit disconnected from this campaign gameplay. Now, yeah, if you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like. If you enjoy content about the historical Total Wars and their mods and perhaps other strategy games, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.